nobody believes in Jeeps. We all know what Jeeps are made for. Going to the mall, putting that big blue line on the side of it, letting them know you don't use it. So I'm going with the Raptor.
What's up, Brite Nation?
What's up, Brite Nation? So we have a super cool and in-depth video for you today.
It's a little different than our typical video. It's one that we absolutely thought we needed to do. So this is Bryce, who works at Dixie 4-Wheel Drive. If you live in Southern Utah, you know him, and you know Dixie 4-Wheel Drive. If you've ever been to Moab, you probably know Dixie 4-Wheel Drive because they were huge there as well. However, even if you don't think you know him, you probably still do, because there's a video that went viral recently that I guarantee you've seen.
So I saw that video. It was insane, and I was captivated by all the footage they had, all the wrecks that was going on in the video. And then I realized, I was like, Hoonigan wouldn't do that. Like, they just did both these guys pretty dirty, and they did him the dirtiest because the Raptor got to come back at the end and talk more about the vehicle and himself and the company. And then I realized, I was like, I literally messaged him instantly. I'm like, Bryce, they didn't do the walk around. Like, I watch this versus that. I watch all the drag races, all the cool, Hoonigan has tons of cool stuff. They're great for the car community and car culture. But then I was like, where did that go? Like, did I just miss it? And
and we filmed it. So that was the catch, is like, that was how we were sold. Hey, come down. You've seen the TVT layout, right? Come check it out. We walk around your vehicle. We give you, it's great for business.
So to me, that was really dirty. And instantly I was like, hey, let's get together and let's actually properly go over this, because that wasn't cool.
We knew the driver, and we knew the vehicle, and we knew
and the company.
We knew that the Hoonigan video and the crash footage, none of that really did either him or the Jeep, which that is the Jeep. It did neither. Yeah, it did neither of them really any justice, which is why we came down to Dixie 4-Wheel Drive today to kind of clarify a few things.
So of course there were a bunch of comments that were like, this guy,
everyone,
he doesn't know how to drive, he's never been off-road before, he doesn't know his vehicle, or he doesn't know this vehicle, like on and on and on. And that lends back to Hoonigan really doing him dirty, because they do driver interviews and they ask you where you're from and all that. But since they didn't air it, why don't we ask the guy if he knows how to drive, where he's from, and what experience he has with this vehicle behind us?
Yeah. So I'm Bryce with Dixie 4-Wheel Drive. If you've been to St. George, Utah, you've heard of Sand Hollow. If you've heard of Sand Hollow, you've heard of Milt's Mile. Milt's my dad. I've been driving at Sand Hollow since I was 8 years old. So in a manual transmission vehicle.
Sounds like he has no idea what he's doing behind the wheel.
Yeah, never driven too much. Now, I will say my background is totally off-road in full-size, mostly Jeeps more than anything. That's been what our passion is. We rock crawl, we do a little bit of everything, but been driving my whole life. We obviously went down and did a whole walk around of the Jeep. We were expecting that. That's what we were sold on. We were getting, hey, go who you are, where you're from. This is good. I thought that was gonna be good for our area. I thought it was gonna be good for our shop.
Right.
Obviously, things went different.
I'm honestly a little butthurt for him at Hoonigan, because I love what Hoonigan does. A lot of people do. I'm sure there are people that talk trash about him, but they are a cool car culture community.
Well, we're all gearheads. And I learned that going down there with them. Like, you could tell they started out the same way you and I would have been. Like, you know, hey, you could be into drift cars.
Which we are. We have them.
And you can be into a full-blown Jeep. You can be into a trophy truck. But we're all going to get along that way.
Right.
But unfortunately, they definitely made it a little bit one-sided there, as far as between even the Raptor and the Jeep. We showed up, smashed them, and rolled out.
Right. And so he's been his whole life off-roading. Now, maybe not high-speed, big whoops, competition type stuff, but like
But this Jeep had seen 100+ miles an hour in the desert before this point in time. Right. Now, what I will say is I don't ever push my Jeep like that in a competition setting. We never have. I usually have my kids and my wife in with me, right? Like, the Jeep is a trail rig, luxury rock crawler, right? That's what it is.
That's what we're going for. And honestly, I'm gonna be real honest with you guys. This is a 2018, just like RJL. We actually got RJL the minute Rubicons hit the lot, like in basically February of 2018. We just happenstance to want a Jeep at that time and had to have a Rubicon. I think you guys said you picked this one up in like March.
And we had a shop in Moab, and that's what people didn't realize. In a month and a half, we built this Jeep. The red Jeep you saw was built in a month and a half with coilovers, bypass, back half chassis, double 4-link rear suspension.
So they literally custom in the shop, literally did this suspension, coilover bypasses front, coilover bypasses rear, a Hemi swap. All of that stuff was done in a month and a half, and they showed up to Easter Jeep Safari.
When JLs were brand new. You couldn't
When
even buy
ours
a
was still
bumper and a
stock.
winch.
I think we showed up
but you couldn't get anything. You wouldn't have shown up stock if you could have.
We had a rough country spacer lift off of JK.
Perfect.
We had a rough country spacer lift off of JK when we showed up, right? So then as we started getting into modding, this is where my obsession for coilover bypass on our stepchild has come from. And even we kind of gave up in the shop after a little while, because once we found ADS and their internal bypasses, the big 3.0s, we kind of figured out we didn't need it. But I even told you at that time, I believed in a single 3.0 for what a rock crawling style Jeep who's still going to go fast and still going to do stuff, because at this point it's
best all around. Packaging is really hard to do on a shock like that.
Right.
With a big tire around a factory body. I mean, just the way
I was always hitting him up. I'm like, how'd you do the back? And he's like, oh, we did a whole back half kit. And I'm like, I don't want to cut the whole back half of the Jeep off. So essentially, this 2018 was the first Hemi swap, the first coilover bypass, the first to have like all this crazy stuff on it.
At 57 miles on the Jeep.
Right, like way crazier than us, because we, again, rough country spacer lift, and then we wheeled it for like a year that way. Little modifications here and there. This whole Jeep has been like crazy badass since 2018, and then you've been fine-tuned it.
Totally, well, and we built it off of what my JK, I had an LS3 JK coilover bypass. I mean, I've been driving a Jeep, and you could go dig back into my content of social media. I mean, we've wheeled Tent Hollow. I mean, we've done every trail that we've pulled on out there with it.
Right.
This Jeep, when I lived in Moab, when I first got it, it's a company Jeep, by the way. Dixie owns it. It's a company Jeep. I got the privilege of having it at Moab, and I went and wheeled Pritchett Canyon solo. We did, I mean, you name all the trails, it lived there through every Easter Jeep Safari. I wheeled it in the snow. I wheeled it in the,
all the time.
All the time. I've wheeled this thing a lot. It had 17,000 miles. I would say 14,000 of them are off-road.
I mean, when you live in Moab, or like we live here, you just kind of go out
all the time
and just play.
Yeah, we don't have to drive far to work, but we get to drive 5 miles any direction from here and wearing dirt, which is rad.
Remember, it was like 2 years ago, either at Winter 4x4 Jamboree or Trail Hero. You and I were in the Jeep over here, and he just like hit this lip and just like jumped it in the air and like landed right in front of us. Like he jumped it like 3-4 feet. He just like, rup, boom. And I was like, this. And that's what I was like, wait, what? Let me look at this again. You know,
get a closer
like,
look, because it's not and you know what you're looking at. It's not an off-the-shelf Jeep.
Right. It's super cool that he has all this experience, and he does know the Jeep. So all the keyboard warriors that are on there, it's really not your fault. It's actually Hoonigan's fault, because, again,
we have fun.
They went over all
I did
this.
make mistakes. I mean, hands down. There was a couple, and of course led into it. We got down there. We were there to have fun. We weren't there to show up and go, oh, let's roll a Jeep through this, show you what your all-the-time expectation of a Jeep is.
Well, you had like months to prepare for it, right?
No, I had 3 days. I got 3 days lead up.
So again, when people were like, oh, it's not set up for that.
And the video I got shown of the course, because it was the very first this versus that off-road season. So yeah, there was lots of episodes that you guys saw. They filmed all those episodes in one short week, like 3 days packed. So we showed up, we got to watch a few different runs. We got one run down the course, one run. And that didn't even give you enough time to go with triple bypasses. You can adjust the rebound, you can adjust. We didn't get to do, I mean, it was back to back to back trying to go.
Yeah. Okay, so you had 3 days. Some people knew for a while, but this was last minute because they were actually clamoring. I got messages, and I put out on my Facebook
which
that.
I had seen, and at that time I got a phone call right after that.
Right,
Like,
so
you
I
posted
was
that.
getting messages like, hey, will you take your Jeep, or do you know anybody, can you please, like they were trying to get more people literally 3 days before the event happened. And that's when he saw that, he already had somebody hitting him up to bring this Jeep out there. So it's not like there was any prep time. And then what, they send you the core, how'd that work?
So they sent a video of just an in-cab, which, like, you know, camera never does its justice, right? Even their video shows the justice of the rollover, but it doesn't show the justice of how tall those whoops are compared to a 40-inch tire. You don't realize there's a 40-inch tire that was in those whoops, right? That shows
Right.
you depth of how big it was.
Well, nobody knew you had a 40 because they didn't show.
They didn't show They filmed a 40-inch tire, which is Canadi's new tire. It's a brand new 40-inch tire. Like, that's new for them. So.
Now, in prep for this, he actually got with Fox to have shims mailed to him so he could have the coilover bypasses tuned for what he was doing, but
Yeah, so
that
Mike,
didn't work out.
So Mike Kim at Fox is super cool. He's who drew up these shocks. You got to remember, JLs weren't out yet, so
Right.
we didn't know exactly what weight we were at, how our build was set up. He
And
built these
Mike
custom shocks.
Kim is like the
Trophy truck tuner,
He
ultra
is.
Ford.
He is the tuning guru
He races,
for.
he lives, he's a Jeep enthusiast.
Right.
So he did what he did. I sent him some footage of what we were done, explained what the Jeep was doing. He knew enough of what he could do in the short timeline. He next day aired parts. But again, mind you, we didn't have confirmation we were even going till a Monday, and this is on a Wednesday, right? So we get the phone call. Next day, we had the shocks torn apart, waiting for FedEx to show
So this
up.
is all torn apart.
And then had to put it back the same way it was, which is what it is. It set up good for what it was doing. It's a great rock crawler. It's a great.
So shipping lost the package, or it got stalled, and then they had to leave. So they had to literally put everything back together and
then that.
just-
But on top of
yeah.
that wouldn't have necessarily made the outcome that much different. Those whoops were huge, right? I went into them hot, right? There was no question. This is a built 6.4 Hemi, so it's putting, 340 horse at the rear wheels with 40-inch tires and a Pro Rock 80. That's a good number, right? So for a Jeep with an 8-speed, I was fourth gear, foot to the floor. And that's
you came in hot. I mean, when the other races were good, and then you were like 20 mile an hour faster on that. Like
on that last one. The problem was I was expecting a bad bump. It would have been cool if it had bounced and stayed straight, but unfortunately it just kicked a little. And when it kicks, you hang on for the ride,
when they
right?
give somebody 6-car lead, but really like 7 by the time they
drop
and let you go.
And again, it was pretty quick. So again, I'm like, sure, run it. But the problem is I was running it in. The second jump, I overshot a little, which is probably good because I probably would have went into it even hotter, So there was that. But if you really actually even slow down, I should have paid attention. In the Bronco, you could tell he was going very slow. Like, it looks like
Dude,
I come
you
by at a
passed-
rocket ship, but that's because he was also not going that fast either, right? So there was that. I should have let it down, chased it down, and went for a third
they gave
run.
him like almost a third of a track.
Well, yeah, because
by the time you left, he was coming off the jump. And like
you can hear him hit, and by the time you hear my motor wind up of his jump.
Yeah, it was a
sure.
big jump.
So the way it works, you do know who you're going to race. So I knew I was going to race a Raptor going down there. Do I know what the guy had done to the Raptor? No, but I knew I was going down to race a Raptor. I didn't know, what had been done. They filmed all season 1 in 3 days while being down there. So if you got to imagine
so all of that.
All of that in 3 days. So if you can imagine 3 runs of each vehicle, well, there was some problems going down there, right? Like, you line up this vehicle and this vehicle, it doesn't always work out like you think.
Right.
You got to
and their goal is to have one person win and then set up the next race
to be as close as possible.
To be like a photo finish, which is why they're going to give somebody a head start. But they're not really into off-road. They're into drag racing where it's kind of the same.
Same layout,
not where if you hit a jump too
and
fast, too hard.
Sometimes you could lane swap, they don't lane swap. The loser kind of gets to pick that. But because I didn't lose, I didn't get a pick, right? So they kept me in the same lane.
Okay, hold on. So he didn't lose, but he didn't go against the same vehicle.
Oh, yeah, you're
because if we rewind to the first race, he's racing an F-150 Raptor, which is
not in the same zone. A Jeep Wrangler and a Raptor shouldn't be lined up, and comparable. I mean, you're not gonna take a Raptor where you take this Jeep.
No, not at all.
But you're not gonna take this Jeep into the desert and chase a Raptor and expect to try to hold up with IFS and long wheelbase, etc.
Right, which is super long wheelbase.
So we line up at the first spot of that, and again, I think what kind of happened with the Raptor is we take off, and when we take off, this motor's loud. Yours is loud. A 6.4 Hemi with a 3.5-inch exhaust going out is noisy, right? All you hear is all motor, and then you don't hear him unspool till he's in the air. But I was there at the punch of the, at the beginning of the jump. We were both there. I brake check and lift, and I just see him going to the moon.
Oh,
dude.
he went to the he literally left the screen. You were just they were like, vroom,
and this
guy's just.
Well, and I just had that the same video they show, but the Gen 1 Raptor on the motocross track. I had that same view first.
Was your mouth just open, like not even foot on the gas anymore? At first,
it was just stay straight and make sure he doesn't run into you. So that's why you see me kind of slow down at the jump. I'm ahead of him, or next to him, I should say, at the beginning of the jump, and then I see him going to the moon, and I let up, brake check, come down, and then he's coming into my lane, but I know, hey, I just need to get out of the way.
He landed to flat.
But I knew it was over. I thought he was hurt. To be honest with you, I was like, oh my God.
I actually fast forwarded through the spot because when I saw him come down, that's when I saw him go, oh, his hand, I was surprised I didn't see arm restraints and a neck collar on these guys because nobody was really wearing, except for the trophy trucks and the guys that were going crazy. Nobody was wearing a neck restraint or arm restraints,
and the only reason his airbags didn't go off is he pulled the fuse before the race.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that was the right call either, but it didn't blow up in his
landed,
face.
I saw the bed hit the cab, and then the truck looked like it was just sitting.
The truck was every bit as totaled as the Jeep was, just not aesthetically with body damage.
Yeah.
If
you didn't bend your frame. I swear he bent.
No, the front horns of this had to be pulled over a little, the way the front bumper dug in. But that's not.
Just cut them off.
Yeah. No, and we straightened it up. It lined up before, and we checked the frame for straight, everything else.
Everything's good.
But again, I watched him come down, and I went, dude, that truck is totaled. The fender flare, the tire blew up into the fender flare, the fiberglass was bent, the door lines didn't jam up, the internals of those Fox 3.0 live valve shocks were blown out of itself on his. It hit hard. The truck visually, you even say, yeah, he drove home. Well, you see it going through the whoops. It's blowing through the travel when he runs over the banner.
Yeah, no,
when
it
you
was
see that.
That Raptor was.
It has good components, but they're going to have to buy a new chassis, new suspension, cap swap, all the internals. Same way we had to do. We had to gut this thing all the way down.
And then at the end, when they actually brought him back, he called you out that wanted to race you again.
Right.
And I was just like,
the race was rebuilding and we beat it.
Yeah,
right? What happened? He waited until the video was over. I got it back on it and rebuilt it.
Yeah, so the way you see it now, and we'll go over it, 3 months. So from the time
3 months and 3 days.
From the time they wrecked it, they had it in 3 months back together just like this and at SEMA, ready to go, which is absolutely insane.
So before we lined up with the Raptor, the last words out of their mouth was, hey, we have to have 3 good runs to make an episode. And so we line up, and like I said, he boots it to the moon, and I swing back around great, we just drove down here for a one and done, one pump chump, here it is, it's over, right? And then they're scrambling now, because they're like, wait, we did bring you out, we are here, what do we do? And like I said, if you notice, they ran Blake Wilkie every episode of the first season. He was like, I don't want to run again, because I've already been. So that was his hey, what can we find? And then they took one of their other guys that was actually a camera guy.
I saw him putting down his camera gear.
Yeah, and again, luckily he was cool, but he kind of got the same notice we did. You get told you're doing it, and you do it. Run what you showed up in right there in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people can go do that course and expect not some of those same outcomes.
Yeah.
Even off the normal
he hit
jumps.
hard too.
Oh yeah, you hear it smash.
He sent it, and you just saw the Bronco blow through the shocks and just crunched everything.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if that thing was damaged something was damaged. I don't know.
The hardtop didn't crack. It held together, but again, it was a downhill jump. So yes, it hit hard, but he had the right, the jumps were definitely tapered to be
So the
pretty good.
jumps were good. It was the whoops that were.
But if you notice the
really-
trophy trucks and all the other videos they show, no one can air those tabletops out much bigger than
No, 'cause
even
it's-
where the Jeep lands a few of the times. Like those jumps, they're not landing
Well,
at the bottom
no.
of them. You know.
No, well, the Raptor landed at the
And it
bottom
showed
of it.
you- but he's the only one. But for that reason, nothing else should be landing 15 feet down at
No.
60 miles an hour, right?
No.
Like that's just not how you should.
I don't know how he didn't just keep going.
And I would have been amazed to see what he would have done at the whoop section, you know, because he would have laid it to the floor too. And even then, that truck was messed up. So we line up to the Bronco, and we own a Bronco, so I know what they're like. And
Yeah.
if you try to spool up the Bronco and you power brake, I think you've noticed
cuts
this
the
too.
power off.
Cuts the power off. So unfortunately, that's what made me get a big lead, right? So part of it was just him not knowing his vehicle and all reality of, which I
Right.
don't blame him. You got to go out and do.
Yeah.
If you're not driving your vehicle like that, you're not going to know. I know because I drove a vehicle like his the same way.
Right, yeah, we all have Broncos.
My Jeep has no traction control. That was all killed. Rear locker was on, 4 high. We were ready to party. So it jumped. We take off. I knew even from the get-go of the first jump, I knew I was ahead of him. I never saw him from the takeoff. Obviously, we got to the whoops, and I just brake checked up. They're gnarly whoops. And I was like, hey, just if I'm already ahead of him, roll
Yeah, and it
through
looked fine. You kind of just
Yeah,
went
and
through
it
'em.
bounced hard, but you can tell he's chasing it. But I was ahead of him by, I would say, 5 car lanes. They called it 6. Hard to say, I wasn't at the back, but roughly 5. We pull around to line up for race 2, and it's now sunset. So we're getting, you know what I mean? I mean, they're like, we got to get, you know,
Yeah,
they were scrambling
go,
before
go,
that.
go.
So it's go, turn around, line up again.
Right.
What are we giving them? You know, no lane change? No, just sure, 5, 6 cars, right? And then Blake stands out in the middle of the hump, and I wait for the hand drop. And like you
So-
said, he probably stalled a little more than what should have.
So they did. So if you watch, he's like,
So I think what would be great, what we're thinking is as soon as he hits like the belly on here, you go.
The bottom?
Yeah, let him get the head start and then you chase.
6 cars, and then they tell you, wait till he gets to the flat before he goes off the
And
jump.
they don't care if
then-
you jump the race and you get a head start. I wasn't going to jump. I
Right,
wanted
right,
to
right.
be what it is.
But when you watch, I see him get to the flat, and you still haven't gone, and he starts going up the hill, and you still are just
and you hear my
barely
motor
leaving.
about the time he lands.
Yeah, and then you
the
hear,
first jump.
and he's already, I'm like, oh, man. And so, like, it didn't look like you were gonna, because at first, like, you come in, you don't, and you did good there because you didn't overshoot the
Nope.
first one. You kind
Nope.
of
I
still
hit the
took
first
it
one
easy.
smooth and then
came into the
pinned to the
second
second
one. Second one, you were catching a little more speed.
The
I
problem
think
is I
you-
clicked another gear. I shouldn't have clicked an extra gear.
And
You
then
know,
as
it's hard
soon
not
as you
to.
landed, you were just, I
Foot to the
don't know
floor.
if you even
Yeah.
saw anything anymore. I mean, you kind of saw it almost happening without, like, you could see it.
How could you not know it should
And
be
then
coming?
you literally just, you were 30 mile an hour faster than he was, maybe.
If not more.
If not more.
If you look
like-
back at it, for sure. I was foot to the floor. Like I said, 6'4" Hemi runs good. These 8 speeds.
It
The Jeep
does,
was
like-
moving. And I was expecting a bad bump, but unfortunately, when it hit, it gave it a good.
If it didn't go
sideways, it turned and there was
Sideways.
nothing I could do. And I knew that, right? But I also knew I had a factory cage, so I knew duck, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you pay
Well,
attention, I'm like in the video,
You do. Luckily, it kind of cartwheel. It didn't barrel roll. It kind of cartwheeled
it hit the
over.
front tire and pushed it that way. And so
Yeah.
when it went sideways, when it hit sideways, it slowed a lot of the momentum of the Jeep down, which was huge in my favor. Then it rolled up onto its lid, and you could see the 2 doors are over there. The 2 doors held the glass fine. Believe it or not, like when I say it got every red panel, you can't tell, but it twisted the door. Like this is a good tub off of JT, which is the same as a JL body. This is totally twisted off. So you can tell the doors were twisted, but the passenger glass didn't break.
That's
because
crazy
it landed
that it
all
didn't
on
break.
the driver's side.
Right,
though.
right.
The driver's side took the hard hit, which you can see in the video, the airbag, you know, it blew both the seat airbag, steering wheel airbag. I was bruised up in the back. You know, you could tell I got the wind knocked out of me when that hit.
Oh yeah,
you know?
I was surprised to see you coming.
And like,
out
you know,
of it.
you don't know if anything, I don't know at this point if fuel lines get ripped off, hot exhaust, you know what I mean? So I was just like, get out of the Jeep. But we'll show you the other doors. I mean, take a look at the other side. The driver's side definitely took, glass shattered, mirrors. Look at that door, it doesn't even try to, I mean. Yeah. So I mean, unfortunately, and when I say it got every red panel, we'll show you the tub here in a second. It's right outside, the original red tub. The Jeep, if you look, this is a clear graphic. I usually keep a clear graphic because then it keeps the pinstriping out of the Jeep so it looks clean. Like we take pride in keeping our shit looking nice. But we also, you know, unfortunately went hard with a bang.
It was a little rough.
And these are aluminum doors, so they fold up.
Yeah,
I mean,
they do.
unfortunately, well, you know, and again, a 6,000-pound Jeep makes that happen.
So you took a bad bounce and.
Yeah, it was a very hard hit. It was a violent hit for sure. Not only just at the whoop section of hitting that, but when it actually flung over and landed. It actually landed really hard on this corner. You saw the video of the hood folding and blowing up. This actually pushed in hard enough that the pulley pinched a wire going into the ECU. So it shut off immediately, right? But the battery ejected out. I mean, it literally pulled the factory battery tray and just annihilated it. The battery's 15 feet. It looked like a plane crash. It looked like we hit here and there was parts scattered. That hardtop went into 100 pieces, right?
Yeah. And I mean, the cage is all mangled, of course.
The Jeep did its job.
but
airbags, seatbelts, honestly, it worked.
It really did.
It looks better now because we had to pull this. This was pushed down clear into the headrest. We couldn't even take the seats out of the Jeep just to even strip the carpet of this.
Okay,
So
I was gonna say because this doesn't look
front
like
and
it's
rear, both
this
back
didn't look
seat
like it was
driver's
that bad, but you pulled it up.
Both drivers.
a foot.
Yeah, we used a forklift and straightened it out before. This was pushed over probably another. I mean, this was clear into the headrest for sure.
Oh, okay.
So
you kind of got.
it got jacked. The tub's.
Well, yeah, no, it's.
I
it's
mean, it got
definitely done.
damaged in every corner. You can tell it got every red panel of it. I have tipped over a Jeep in the past. Unfortunately, even slow tip overs, things get pushed around, right?
Yeah. So if you look back here on this rear bar where it collapsed here and here, this is exactly where my bar is actually tearing. So on our Jeep, there's 2 tears here and there's 2 tears right here. And so it needs a cage.
But yeah, you've never rolled yours, and this rolled and it got crushed. But it did its job. But one thing that we really did is, so from this point, we went on the ride home. Dude, so mind you, it was late at night. Like this happened right before sunset.
Well,
right?
so you wreck right before sunset and it goes into it. And then, of course, they had the whole crew come out and help you pick everything up, right?
You would think so. They all race down there, hear them in the video. Well, let's get down there. Well, dude, as they're running down there, all they wanted to do is they're worried about GoPros and everything. You could tell that before anyone made it there, I was already checking over the damage of the Jeep internally. I'm like, dude, how bad is this?
Are you good? Are you good? I'm good. Holy dude. We're all right, dude. Bro. Oh my God.
It's like, what
Right.
happened,
But I mean, they checked you out
Yeah,
medically. They said you're okay. Like
They check your birthday, they check a few things, but I obviously, like anyone's had the wind knocked out of them, it hurts, right? You're sore, but you're riding on crazy adrenaline in that moment.
Right. But now your Jeep's upside down.
It's getting to be dark.
It's getting to be dark. And what happened?
Well, we took it on a flatbed wrecker down there. It's called the Repo Ram. Why? Because in California, speed limits are 55 with a trailer. We wanted to be able to rip down there at 80 miles an hour down there. My friend George let us take his the truck down there so we could do that. So they're filming upside down. They get content. We talk about the Jeep upside down while it's there. So my brother leaves. He goes and gets the truck because it's only 1,000 feet away. Comes down there like, whoa, where'd you pull up with this tow truck, right? And about the time they do that, they threw like the hardtop in the back of their truck, which they filmed that. And then dinner bell rang and all of them, every one of them bounced except for 2 helpers stayed till
While
the
your
end.
Jeep's upside down.
Jeep's up, like, no, they helped winch it over.
Okay.
They threw a couple things in the truck and they bounced. The Jeep isn't even on the truck. But like you know, I can't kick now. I can't kick a tire straight. The Jeep's not running. Like,
You just wearing
I wasn't
in a
positioned. I
gnarly
could run a
wreck.
winch. And again, it's still that scramble. Like, you're still finding your marbles at that point, right? Like, and I'm winching on. Thank God my brother's down there because he went with me.
So
because that's the one that was going to stick it out to the end, right?
Yeah. So I don't know if this is a drag race thing where you just leave somebody, but in the off-road world, we don't leave anybody. Like if somebody flops, if somebody rolls, if somebody breaks, there is no dinner bell. Like,
Well,
and I get it's a production thing, but you literally, they just got like the crazy content they probably wanted.
Yep.
They didn't go over
Better than they were expecting.
Right. They didn't go over any of your past. They didn't go over any of your build. They didn't go over any of that. I mean, they did, but they didn't air it. And then at this point, also, they just left you there to like pick up all this
they don't
stuff.
literally leave you there because they're still there cooking dinner, eating, but they're all hungry, which it was 110-degree weather that day. It is a long day of filming, but I've been in the desert till 3 in the morning pulling someone off the mountain to make sure. We picked up
people get
everything.
home.
Just so you know, we picked up, when I said it was a plane crash, think of how many pieces that hardtop was in, right?
Oh,
It
you
was
didn't leave all the crap
No,
there.
we even went to their other trucks, picked it up, we took it all home, right? We cleaned up, we kicked up stuff.
Because we're used to cleaning up out in the
cleaned up,
desert.
right?
Or
And
out
we were
in
at a
Wheeling.
private track, but that's just who we are. So we picked up, we actually found a GoPro they didn't get because they all left, right? And it was dark, but we cleaned up every piece of plastic that was around that we could see,
I mean,
right?
and that's what you do. I mean,
So,
like.
luckily, 2 kids there stayed till the very end, which I get it. Sure, you don't need everyone, but it's amazing. What do they say? Many hands make light work, right? Well,
Yeah,
many
teamwork
hands-
makes the dream work.
Right,
Literally,
little
if you had 15 people, it'd have taken 10 minutes
But
versus.
we got out there
however,
pretty
like-
efficiently, and then they offer a hotel room. Food's so cold that we're not going to eat it, right? Like at that point in time, it's cold, right? They're like, well, there's still some leftover. If you want, we could, and I'm like, dude, we'll just go get it. Well, it gets worse, right? Raptor accident, Bronco accident. We jump in the truck. I'm obviously too jacked up to drive the truck at that point. I shouldn't be driving. Sitting in there, no food, no ibuprofen, no nothing, right? And come to it, it's a 2-lane highway. There was an accident head on. So we sit in traffic for another 2 hours before we could even get back to where we were going to even find a hotel to even stay in. So it just was like, for me, it was like, oh, pain's getting steeper, no food, no, been here all day, like just wrecked my Jeep, like bummer, right? So I left it in their hands. I was like, dude, they're going to do it. They're Hoonigan. They're good at marketing. They got killer content. I'm expecting for them, and it's on the way to the top of their highest this versus that off-road views, which it will be. And obviously, like I said, we went down there hoping for a better outcome.
Well, yeah, you're definitely not looking for this, but.
No, do you know what it costs to rebuild this Jeep? What it cost to build the Jeep the first time, now what it costs to rebuild? Like, what you see here is what is left. We're on our way home the next morning to St. George. Before we even got to State Line, California, I'm on Facebook Marketplace searching for Jeep parts on the way home. Because I can tell visually the front end was bent. I can tell the Jeep body is jacked. I found Nina Barlow from Barlow Adventures had a windshield frame, tailgate, doors, just for Fun Motorsports gave me a grip. Like it was just kind of like some pieces came together that way.
Where you're like, hey, I'm just going to rebuild what I have. Which is how you ended up with this.
Yeah, well, you see me smiling at the end and on top of the Jeep. That's not like this proud moment. That was, I'm happy to be alive, right? Like the Jeep, we can replace it. I had a pregnant wife at home. I got 2 little girls. Now I have 3 little girls since that
Right,
happened.
because people always like, oh, you did it for the gram, risk it for the, and you were just trying to get your.
We were out having fun.
15 minutes of fame. Like you didn't send it across that to try to wreck the Jeep or to be famous. Like
we're out to have fun, dude. We live in the off-road. We have fun. Shit happens, right? Like and also the other thing we showed is things happen. It's not what happens. It's what your reaction to it is. And ours was, let's rebuild it, right? We're a shop. I'm not going to show you, oh, we got hurt and I should have done. No, not pity me. Like, let's rebuild it. Like, I didn't die, right? We're good. Like,
and it's actually back better.
It is built back better the right way. Like, what's really cool is after the rollover, we didn't mess around, right? Full custom, TIG welded cage, front and back, top to bottom, like PRP seats, harnesses, safety's a matter. Like we cared the first time, it just hadn't got there yet. Yes, I shouldn't have done that, not having the proper equipment you should have,
right.
But now it is there, right? And it should have been there, sure, but this is what we rebuilt. We rebuilt this in 3 months and 3 days. Canati Tires was super cool. They saw the wrecked vehicle and they were like, dude, let's bring it to SEMA. If you can rebuild it, we'll put it in SEMA. And I'm like, dude, game on, let's do it. And my whole the race that I had was, let's rebuild it before they air it. We rebuilt it before they aired it, but it was at SEMA 400 yards from me. I said, hey, just so you know, I sent them a picture. This is what it's rebuilt. They don't care. They wanted the glamour shot of the wreck. Who cares what happened from here? Is what kind of
so
show.
you were right next to them out in SEMA.
It was in the parking lot of SEMA, and they were in the parking lot of SEMA. That's not that far.
They could have
of a
came
walk.
by him and like, oh, this is the Jeep that just that wrecked and
right. And look, he rebuilt it, and it's how the picture you want to paint it. They wanted the accident. They gave you enough to go, wow, and give you a reaction because they didn't know enough. It's like you didn't get the real news. You got the news they presented.
Which is why I reached out to you and I saw how
Which I thought was super cool. That was cool of you to, hey, I saw your text, was like, dude, if I wouldn't have known you, I wouldn't have known it was you, right? And then you were like, dude, let's.
Yeah, because at this point I already knew you're okay, and then I saw it come out, and that's when I realized I was like,
well, you saw the
holy
rebuild
crap.
process too,
I
not
did.
knowing, right?
Yeah. And so when I saw it finally air, and I was just like, oh my God, they just didn't do anything. They didn't. You didn't. I don't even know if they. I don't even remember if they even let you say your name on the.
Right.
On the
well, and they were
video.
supposed to send you. I had to reach back out to them to even get pictures to post. Like, let's say we do a content together. You're going to send me like, hey, here's a proof of it before it launches, or hey, that's what we were told we were getting. Yeah, we'll let you know before your episode. No, I just got a random notification from someone saying, dude, look at this Instagram reel someone else made, right? Is how I found out it got launched.
Yeah.
So it was a little surprised by me, but I also left it in their control. They left me with what they left me, and then from here it was like, hey, let's just go move forward, right?
But
it's rebuild.
I mean, it looks sick. And you guys, so this isn't a cage from anybody. You guys built
No,
the
this
cage.
isn't suspension from anyone. Dude, this is full custom back half chassis, double 4 links, 70-75 solid aluminum links. If this would have been a normal Jeep, it would have folded in half in that accident. The reason the front housing bent is because it had solid straight arms. That's all custom that we built, but we know that. Like if you're gonna go pound and you're gonna go use a Jeep aggressively, I've watched what happens in Moab at our shop there. Mounts were ripped off of axles just driving down the trails, not just in Jeeps, Tacomas, you name it.
Oh no, we see it.
Mounts get ripped off, right? Just like that Raptor. They didn't show you that. That Raptor has mounts folding, like that got to be replaced, right? That chassis needs to be replaced. In this case, back half, nothing. We drained the oil in the rear, refilled it up. We did have to straighten the front frame horns a little bit where the bumper went on, which was easy to happen.
How was the motor? Because I heard the Hemis don't go upside down.
Oh, it went upside down.
No, but like when you flip it back over, that you have to pull the intake manifold because there's oil in the intake manifold.
So we get like 3/4 of the way through the build. My brother goes, I think we should probably turn this motor over and make sure. Because we're all in, right?
Yeah.
So we turned the engine over. All that really happened on the east
But it had been sitting for a while at that time.
It had, because we flipped it over within 20 minutes of the actual rollover, right? They got the footage.
Right, but I've had people, and I don't know if you know, I don't know. I've had people tell me if I flop the Hemi and it's upside down, it's not an LS where you can just flop it back over. Supposedly they say something about oil gets stuck in like the intake manifold passages, and you have to like literally pull it off.
You'll hydro lock it essentially, and you should. But again,
I didn't know.
We didn't start it up clear until honestly like 3 days before SEMA. So we didn't even know if it ran at that point in time. Like we were at that point of like, well, we still got to get it done.
Okay, so
either way.
I need somebody who's rolled it and then tried to start it. Because
and I'm not going to be that guy to do that. I'm the kind of guy, I take the precautions to make less damage.
Right, but again, this is just like hearsay. I don't know if this is true, but something about being upside down, the oil drains.
It can be a 3.6, it can be an LS. That stuff happens to any of them. If you get enough oil, I mean, these tolerances in new motors.
Yeah.
But
no. I get the oil part. I'm just saying there's something specifically about the Hemi and the intake manifold where it gets stopped.
As far as that kind of goes.
Yeah, I don't know. Our Hemi's been pretty vertical in different ways, sideways and vertical.
And that's this one too.
Upside down yet, though.
It has not. Let's hope. I don't want it to go upside down.
I wouldn't wish that upon anyone. That wreck was violent. One thing that is cool out of it is it really shows you how violently or how things can go from, dude, this is fun, this is good, to your world. I could have been paralyzed. I could have died, right? Things could have happened. It didn't, thank God. Sore back for a month. I'll take that, dude. I went to work the very next day, though. I showed up to work the next day, right? I'm a business owner. You got to do what you got to do.
I'd have been laid up in the bed.
I don't have a choice, right? I just wrecked the Jeep. The least I can do is show up to work the next day and be like, hey, let's get this back. I'm an owner of the shop, but I still respect enough to try to get the value back for my other partners. And, obviously our name, like I said, they presented it.
I send people to you guys, like literally anytime somebody's broken down or something happens, or I even need a part, or Chris does something or brings something in. Literally, I'm like, hey, do you have this steering box? Do you have this knuckle? Do you have this?
We're a shop that actually lives off road. We are real enthusiasts.
And you guys put on like trail rides out here for people.
We do 101 basic training, talking to people about lockers, everything from that to trail rides to once a month trail rides. We just want to get people out, keep them involved. We know that if we don't use it, we're going to lose it, and we care in that case.
Yeah. So if you're anywhere in Utah, Nevada, really, like Dixie 4-wheel drive, like you can trust these people. Like that's all they, we can walk through the shop. But this is inside, which people don't have this kind of inventory.
Well, dude, Dixie 4-wheel drive has been a business since 1994. My mom and dad started the company. We tore our building down that was built in 1948. So St. George, our original shop, was built before the boulevard was paved. So everyone sees this as now. My dad grew up in the backyard of the shop. Like St. George, my dad, this was the industrial park of St. George for my dad growing up, right? So history-wise, we've been off-roading our whole life. We've been St. George. My dad cruised Sand Hollow well before, when it was the dune buggy days, before even Jeeps were really going up there. And then again, I grew up doing all that. Now, obviously, we've grown into a good-sized shop, but so has the community. St. George, Southern Utah, you guys moved here recently. I say recently, but
2 years now.
a couple years ago. It's a great destination place.
But you guys support everybody.
We support every avenue. We're not, and that's the thing. We're not just Jeep. So they're like, oh, dude, we own a Bronco, right? We like we're in the same boat. We don't just own a Bronco. We own multiple Jeeps. We have Gladiator. We have a trailing arm JT that would have held up better than the JL, and it's going for whoops like that. But at the end of the day, they wanted the Jeep they wanted, and I went, hey, let's go down and have some fun. What's the worst that could happen? Well, the worst happened. But not the worst, but I would say pretty
the worst
epic.
to the Jeep, right?
But like I said, it's back together. You can't tell it's the same Jeep, but it's not the same tub. But there's a lot of the same Jeep. It's the same dash. It's the same steering wheel. The seats, because the seat blew apart with the airbags, we went with aftermarket seats. But again, with harnesses, you should have aftermarket seats that are allotted for that, so it's set up right. We did go for the cage. We used the same carpet, same plastics that you can see trimmed up for like going around the roll cage. The back, take a look at the back. The shocks go vertical. We encased the back so it's nice and clean, and did the plastic delete so it actually is all carpet and looks good. Now the Jeep has a little bit more weight off the rear end. We got a tire off the back. We're not done with it. Yes, the Jeep did need to be tuned. Mike Kim from Fox, he already has 4-tube bypasses drawn up for all 4 corners of this thing. So he's planning on changing out these shocks already. So this year, King of the Hammers, we're going to tune it and set it up. And
nice.
So now it'll actually even have a more proper tune.
There's whoops out there, little big.
Yeah. And again, this isn't to go become this race Jeep. We're not going, they called out to go race again. Our race was to rebuild the Jeep. I'm not going to go for the marketing return on investment that I got, or how little, they showed me what I should or shouldn't do.
Because I already said earlier that the Raptor guy at the end got to come back and talk, but it was the next day, and of course they were already on their way home, and he came back to talk to them, and he called Bryce out like, oh, well, wait till next season or whatever, and I'll re-race them next season. And I was just like, that's kind of.
But even next season is already happening now. I already know people that are down there doing it. So season 2's coming from them. The carnage isn't over. So the whole
carnage.
Jeep and Raptor. No, you're going to see carnage from everything. What you don't see is down there, the monster truck breaks off a bump stop, and so everything of that filming that day got delayed because there was carnage already, And I know most vehicles are not set up to go handle that. So
they already had that many. That's crazy.
Yeah, and it is gnarly. It was a gnarly course, but this isn't what that thing was built for. We still went down to party, and we can't say we didn't give her the beans, right? We went for the full sends. We were there to have fun.
So right after the wreck, when they made the comment about, well, you can't just bolt coilovers onto a vehicle and come out here and send it like that. Well, as you can see, this isn't just bolting coilovers onto a vehicle. But then I kind of realized they were probably speaking more generally to everybody and like watching.
You, as a whole, shouldn't just bolt coilovers on and then expect it to perform like a trophy truck.
Yeah, but people tore into him online because when they said that, It was
No solid explanation
They had
of
no
what it is.
explanation of what was done to the Jeep.
Without an actual walk around of the vehicle before or any history on the driver, it was really easy to take that comment and assume that it was referring exactly to this Jeep
And we know
or
what
exactly to
assuming
Bryce.
does.
Yeah, we know what assuming does. Which is why when we saw everything, we reached out to Bryce and we figured he deserved a little more justice than what that video, the original Hoonigan video, kind of gave him for not just himself, but for the monster of a Jeep that he's built and wheeled for years. So we just figured.
And the
you
video
guys
was
deserve
good. They did a good job. It was entertaining. It keeps you watching. It just sucks they portrayed it to be, oh, these guys took a car off the lot and wrecked it. Not, oh
It
man,
kinda-
hey, no,
it-
this is, hey,
it
here's
kinda
what you
did.
got. There should have.
But again, no one single vehicle that ever performs on that show is actually tuned specifically for the course that they put everyone on.
Well, the trophy trucks.
Well, maybe with the exception of the actual trophy trucks. But anyways, he deserved a little more than that, which is what we wanted to do today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully you watched the whole thing. Hopefully you learned a bit. Hopefully you were awed by this 3-month rebuild that they did, which
I
is
am.
pretty wild.
And it looks factory. You can't tell that it's been rolled.
Yeah, you
That's
never know.
That's who we are, and that's what we care for.
Yeah.
Anyways, again, if you're ever in the Utah or honestly just the West Coast, Dixie 4-wheel drive, if you ever need anything off-road related, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Remember, you can find all your Lite Brite Nation merch and decals at litebritstudios.com. As always, we love you, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, guys. I screenshot some comments.
Some comments. There's
So
some
I'll
good
put-
ones.
yeah,
There's a whole bunch of them.
Okay, so
We laughed at all of
I
them.
didn't do a lot. I only did a couple, and then I was like, I don't know if we're gonna do this, but we're gonna do it. So it didn't have the travel.
What's a normal travel number?
Yeah,
on a
like
Jeep?
what do you think
It's got a
travel is?
14-inch coilover and bypass in the rear,
Yeah.
12 in the front. That's good for a full-body Jeep Wrangler.
Looks like stock style geometry lift with coilovers.
There's less than 2% of Jeeps with JLs or JKs with a true double triangulated four-link rear end. So yeah.
Needs a proper long travel to float the wolves. Now,
Need some shock tuning for sure within that. But again, geometry's there. You can't change.
but again, they couldn't see any of this.
No.
Maybe when you were upside down.
If you knew what you were looking for.
Maybe when you're upside down, if they look closer. Boom, dude needs to slow down.
Oh, he's not wrong.
Yeah,
You know.
that's true. That's
Shouldn't have
true.
hit that last gear.
Yeah.
Those are a bit more than whoops.
They are a bit more than whoops. What you
So-
can't tell is that's a 40-inch tire. Those whoops were big, and they're man-made whoops. Like what people don't realize, you go to Supercross in Florida and Supercross Salt
They're
Lake.
made
Whoops are
to
the
run.
exact same distance apart.
They're made to run through. Yeah, so that was.
And
kinda,
again, is what it is. We knew what we were doing down there.
Yep, you can see how the suspension was non-existent. I mean, I saw how the body was non-existent.
Well, it was
after the wreck,
non-existent.
but-
They didn't do a walk around. You saw the GoPro from the helmet cam, GoPro from the end. I get it, non-existent.
And then this guy actually kind of knows. He said that suspension is somewhat built for it. It's a double throwdown style. So yes, I mean you do have
Has
double,
two shocks, I guess,
Yeah,
per corner.
yeah. It's probably the Evo
Referring
lift
to
kit.
an off-the-shelf kit, though. This
Referring
isn't, but
to,
okay.
Right. And he says it costs around $13,000, which depending on what you get, but that's a
If
bit
you know what you're
short
looking
on-
for,
yeah.
it's a lot short. But you know, you can't buy parts.
Plus, it's on Dynatrack 1 tons.
Yep.
So this guy like has your back. He's like, hey, it has actual proper suspension.
And I don't even know that person, but
No.
cool.
Has steer smart steering, and undercarriage damage was just a bent tie rod, which
It had
very close.
Very close. A bent drag link, and it didn't break. It bent. Yet, and I'll give him the credit. It held up. That was a hard hit, but
Yeah.
it bent that 3.5-inch axle tube in 3 places because all the solid suspension that made
it
it
all
hold
together,
It
yeah.
held together better than what I would expect.
I like this one. How many rubber ducks fell out?
Yeah, none. But that is a good one, right? Like that's what you would
It
expect.
is funny.
None because they were all glued to the dash.
Yeah, yeah.
You gotta make sure they don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
But you said it's amazing how much stuff people leave in their Jeeps that you forget
Oh
about.
man, when you roll
Under
a
the
vehicle,
seat.
just center console, lids blow apart, dash blows apart. I mean, it was a plane wreck, dude. It was shit was everywhere.
Yeah. That one had quite a bit of likes and,
Yeah,
and,
the
and
ducks.
laugh
Yeah,
reacts.
yeah,
The ducks one,
which was
'cause-
pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean that's all I kind of screenshot.
There was tons of them, and there was a lot. But again, not knowing anything. Wow, should have slowed down. Sure, this, sure that. Well, if you watch
Well,
a
when you
lot of
wanna
other
win-
vehicles, when you look at a trophy truck, you see a shell of a truck. It is not a Ford Raptor, and a Ford Raptor is not a trophy truck. And a Jeep is, and that's what makes this versus that fun. It just sucks that we had the most carnage and then got the least marketing back out of it. That's my. At the end of the day, that's what sucks, right? Reality is that's why we're here now. And we got to do
biggest carnage so far. We don't know what
no
what
follow
others
up,
see.
no desire. Is
Yeah.
what, kind of made their edit of their own video.
No
what they
walk
wanted.
around, no history, no nothing.
Yeah, so
It is what it is. Water under the bridge.
Oh, well.
We're still here to party.
You're alive.
We rebuilt. We're here.